a particularly warm introduction. By the way, but just as a very quick aside, which is kind of off script, that Tobacco Tactics website, which gives all the information, all the pro-choice smoking people in this country, is actually hosted by a private detective agency in the Netherlands. It is costing the taxpayer £135,000 over 2 years to fund it. I put in a freedom of information request to the Birmingham hospitals down there, and they were obliged to tell me that we are paying for information like that to be held, not in this country. Anyway, that's by the by. We're all smokers now, and if I can paraphrase Pastor Martin Niemöller, who berated in the 1930s the intellectuals in Germany for not standing up to Adolf Hitler, in the sense that first of all they came for the smokers, but I wasn't a smoker. Then they came for the drinkers, but I wasn't a drinker. Then they came for the people who like sugar, but I didn't have sugar in my coffee. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me. Basically, over the last 50, 60 years, there's been increasingly aggressive legislation against smokers. First of all, the smoking ban in 2007. There's the vending machine ban. There's the stores ban, display ban in shops. And now we're going to enjoy plain packaging. And the next thing I'm fighting against next of all is banning of smoking outside. Even private enterprise these days are getting quite aggressive. I was chatting to a researcher on BBC Three Counties, and just as he was asking me my opinion on something, as I was walking out of Tesco's, this guy said, "You can't smoke there." And I said to him, "This is a public path. You know, this was not private property whatsoever." I do about 70, 80 media appearances a year, I say on the radio and TV. In fact, just a little anecdote, I was on ITV 3 weeks ago with Susanna Reid and Ben Shepherd. And Susanna Reid was a lady, of course, who was on Strictly Come Dance, and I was practicing my jive all week to no effect. But anyway,
did she flirt with you?
She's got nice legs. Unfortunately, Ben interviewed me rather than her, and I didn't really have a chance to ever talk to her. But
how are his legs?
Oh, well, I was looking down his shirt actually. There was quite amusing incident, and I was running a bit late, and they rushed me into makeup, and they put the sort of barber's like pinny round you to make sure it doesn't go all over your suit and what have you. And she was applying all the makeup and what have you, and then she got to my hair, and she one way, looked at the other, handed me the hairbrush and said, "I don't think there's a lot I can do with that." I said, "Well, leave it there, I'll I'll boot off." But anyway, what Freedom of Choose have achieved over the last 8 years, I think particularly as probably being uniquely the only the working class libertarian movement in this country. We are fairly I've been thinking long and hard who else might be similar to us, but as far as working class libertarian groups, I think we're the only one. Certainly what we've been able to achieve so far, as we're not funded by big tobacco, I wouldn't be ashamed if we were, is I think we've certainly been able to slow down the rate of change. Certainly Forrest and ourselves really fought a particularly hard battle on plain packaging, which is basically nothing short of theft. And specifically things that I think Freedom to Choose have done particularly well. The junior minister under the Labour Party in the last government was a lady called Gillian Merrin. She was MP for Lincoln Central. And this is the power of the internet, and for as long as it stays neutral, the better. I started off a campaign about 3 months before the actual election itself. Anyone for Lincoln Central apart from Gillian Merrin. And I cited the smoking ban as the reason we want her deposed, and I sent the Facebook page and some notes off to the local newspaper, and bless them, they devoted 7 pages to it. and most of the comments were highly negative about it. There was a swing of 6% from Labour Conservative in her constituency against a national swing of 5.5%. Carl McCartney got in by 1,058 votes. So it's correlation, causation here. I'm not claiming 100% it was, but I think possibly our intervention may have been important on that one. And also as well, when I was on the BBC World Service recently debating Boris Johnson's health advisor, Lord Garge, I think his name is, and on the I got the press release through from Boris Johnson's office. I had a load of interviews I had to do the next day, and I got onto YouTube, and Boris Johnson in 2008 was on the BBC's Room 101. And so I downloaded the URL for that. Also, I googled the fact that he criticised Mayor Bloomberg in New York for introducing a smoking ban. And I tweeted them off to him with the line, "Look forward to discussing this with you on the radio tomorrow and TV." And by lunchtime, he'd thrown in the towel and said he had no interest in bringing in any outside smoking bans. The reason apparently for smoking bans in this country is supposedly the harm of passive smoke, which I believe to be nothing short of scientific fraud. The World Health Organization, which will feature heavily in my speech, one paper from 1998 shows no correlation between passive smoking and lung cancer. In fact, 85% of all scientific papers confirm the same. And also moving on from there, when smoking bans first started coming out in the early 2000s, there's a chap called Professor Stanton Glantz, who's a vicious anti-smoker, who works out at the University of California, San Francisco. And there was a smoking ban in the state of Colorado. And what Professor Stanton Glantz did, he trawled through 64 counties. Colorado's made up of 64 counties, 64 subdivisions. And he trawled through all 64 until he found a state that had a dramatic decrease in heart attacks. It was sheer and utter scientific fraud. The fact that 63 others had no real noticeable decrease in heart attacks because of the smoking ban was irrelevant. He printed that, all his mates gave him peer review or mates review, and it was basically scientific fraud. A lady called Professor Jill Pell of Glasgow University did exactly the same thing in 2007 with the smoking ban in Scotland, where she cherry-picked the data, she cherry-picked the hospitals, cherry-picked the times, and again, she basically went out and committed scientific fraud. I've actually said on radio she's done that, and I invited her to sue me for libel. So she hasn't sent the letter through the post yet, anyway. Talking of passive smoking, 3 months before the smoking ban came in, like many of the things that the tobacco industry have suffered and all the bans that smokers have been having, where people use the same tactics. The Royal College of Physicians in June 2007 wrote about passive drinking. Wait for it. Quotes, "The passive effects of alcohol misuse are catastrophic. Rape, sexual assault, domestic and other violence, drunk driving and street disorder. Alcohol affects thousands more innocent victims than passive smoking." If you have banned smoking in pubs because of the harm of passive smoking, you have now handed to the state the right to ban all alcohol in pubs, bars, cafes and restaurants. That's the conclusion. You've handed that power to the state. And the Americans are always first off the mark. The phrase passive obesity has been seriously, passive obesity has been is now a phrase you can use. Dr. Dennis Godfrey wrote in August 15th, 2007, "When people with whom we are closely associated gain weight, such as a spouse, sibling, neighbour or friend, we're also at an increased risk of gaining weight. For example, if your friend becomes obese, you have a 177% chance of becoming obese too. If your friend's brother becomes obese, your risk is to increase. the increased risk goes out to 4 degrees of separation. So there's one thing I missed out on now. I guess most of you are aware of your daily units. Do we know if you're a lady or a man, how much?
No.
No? That's
I know
what,
that
go on.
it says,
Women are allowed 2 units and then 3 in a day.
That's right, yeah. Indeed, that's theoretically what it is. It's about a pint, isn't it? A pint and a bit.
2 pints for men and a glass of a large glass of wine for women.
Indeed, yeah.
It used to be 2 eggs a week. 2 eggs a week would kill you, or 3 eggs a week.
Well, that's right, well, precisely. So that came from 1987, with a guy called Dr. Richard Smith, who went on to be the editor of the British Medical Journal, was asked by the Department of Health to investigate what safe units should be. And bless him, Dr. Richard Smith was actually an honest academic, and 3 years ago he wrote on his blog, and I quote, "Those limits were really plucked out of the air. They were not based on any firm evidence at all. It was sort of intelligent guess by committee." But you still have the health nannies in this country quoting 2 to 3 units a day, whether you're a man or a woman. Moving on now, Simon Capel, Professor of Clinical Epidemiology at the University of Liverpool, 3 years ago said, "Sugar is the new tobacco." And where most of the ire goes on sugar is on fizzy drinks, soda. And despite the fact we get 3%, most kids and adults only get 3% of their calories from fizzy drinks, it doesn't stop people pushing for restrictions. In fact, last year, California have now mandated by law that all fizzy drinks in California will be carrying a health warning. It says, shouting at you in capital letters, "State of California safety warning. Drinking beverages with added sugars contributes to obesity, diabetes and tooth decay." The other way is often how the nannies sort of deal with this is increasing taxation on fizzy drinks. Mexico did exactly the same. They put a tax of 5 pesos per litre on a litre of Coke, and equivalent of about 60p. And when I was queuing up in Tesco's yesterday, apparently a litre of Pepsi or a litre of Coca-Cola is about £1, something like that. Yeah, it's about £1. So really, in Mexico, the price of fizzy drinks will have gone up by about 50% per can and per bottle. And Pepsi and Coca-Cola reported their sales in Mexico last week, actually. Pepsi sales are actually up 1%, but I'm afraid to say Coca-Cola's sales are down 3%. So they've just gone to all that trouble of putting the tax up, and they've only got 2% difference in sales. Right, and fat is the new tobacco, as said by the Canadian Heart and Stroke Foundation. That was back as far as 2004. So for the best part of 11 years now, they've been banging a drum for that. The Danes actually did try a fat tax, which began in October 2011. And they taxed things like pate, butter and cheese. And that was apparently added to inflation that was running at 4.7% at a time when wages were going down to 0.8%. What the Danes did with it, they just went down from more expensive spreads and butter to cheaper ones. It caused 1,300 jobs to be lost, and people went and did their shopping if they lived on the borders in Germany and also in Sweden as well. It was an utter failure by any stretch of the imagination, and a year later they actually scrapped the fat tax. The driving force behind a lot of these worldwide bans is the World Health Organization, and we are obliged by law to implement their decisions. It's the British and Foreign Commonwealth Office that sign up for these treaties, And there is one for tobacco. It's called the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. It was signed in 2005. There's also one for alcohol as well. So we do expect the World Health Organization to ratchet up restrictions on alcohol, which, for example, David Cameron and Nicola Sturgeon up in Scotland have been waffling on about minimum priced alcohol, which would add about 50p to the cheapest bottle of wine and would put £1 on a can of special brew. Indeed, but of course, when it comes to alcohol, the foodists of the World Health Organization also want to get involved. Last week, we heard the World Health Organization announce the Vienna Declaration on Nutrition and non-communicable diseases in the context of health 2020. Basically what it is even in Britain and anywhere else in the world, when it comes to advertising of food, certain things will be banned completely. Not a case of banning it outside, children's hours or things like that, but it's a complete blanket ban on all advertising of things like croissants, cookies, sponge cakes, wafers, fruit pies, buns, chocky covered biscuits. Now that really would be a disaster. Cake mixes and batters. All chocolate, all sweets, all chewing gum, caramels, sweet sandwich toppings, nut spreads, including peanut butter, cereal bars, granola, and even marzipan. I don't know whether you guys have been watching your papers. Yesterday, the World Health Organization in America has adopted it as a worldwide thing they want to implement. So it's not. It was tried in Europe a week ago, see what kind of reaction they would get. Now they want to adopt it worldwide, the World Health Organization. Right. I've always wondered why we have all these bans. Where do they come from? And that being too political, I think the EU. I think it was reported last week that 67% of all our laws come from the EU. And I really do feel that the House of Parliament and the Westminster bubble really don't have anything better to do with their time. The devil has indeed found work for idle hands. But if you want my opinion, at an in-depth level, a subconscious level, if you like, where these bans come from and restrictions on our lifestyles, I think it was after the fall of the Berlin Wall. There was still the massive debate going on that capitalism or socialism was the best form of government for economically and for social reasons. But economically, when the wall came down, it was fairly obvious even the poorest people in West Germany had a better standard of living and more freedom than the people who lived in East Germany. The same for obviously North and South Korea, Hong Kong and China. I don't know whether you know, something I looked up the other day, despite the fact that mainland China for the last 20 years has had fantastic growth rates in their GDP, 9%, 10% a year. Free market Taiwan, that stayed free market in 1948 to the very day, still this very day has a 3 times better standard of living per head than anybody in China. So what a backward way of actually running a country. So if I can conclude, next time you hear a new restriction on smokers, think about how it might be applied to you and your pleasure. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.